House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says that he will have the votes to pass the GOP debt limit later this week, his bill in the House. That plan would increase the debt ceiling by $1.5 trillion, and it aims to cut $4.5 trillion in spending over the next decade. For a look at what's ahead, we want to bring in Judd Gregg, who served as both governor and senator of New Hampshire. Also, Donna Edwards, who's a former congresswoman serving Maryland's 4th District. Thank you both for being here. Donna, why don't we start with you? You don't think that this is something that's going to get resolved anytime soon?
No, I really don't. I mean, I expect, take a look at that window between the July 4th recess and the August recess, and that's when I expect the heavy lifting is going to happen. Kevin McCarthy, the speaker, is not serious with this proposal that he's put out because he knows that President Biden is not going to agree to a set of spending cuts to his major priorities of the first term of his administration. So it's not serious. I expect that it's going to go to the Senate where the heavy lift is going to happen and then come back to the House. There'll be a set of Senate negotiators, I believe, bipartisan to get to 60 votes. That's going to send a debt ceiling increase during that time period over to the House.
Judd, I take it you probably think neither side is being very serious at this point?
Yeah, right now we're in a political position. The McCarthy plan, Donna appropriately points out, probably isn't viable with Democrats. And the president's position is sort of foolish, really, when you think about it. Over time, when there's been divided government, we've always had negotiation on the default language and the extension of the debt limit. But I think where I disagree with Don is I think her time limit may be off. Revenues are so down here in April that it's very possible in June we could run into this wall. And as a result, these parties have to get serious. Now, ironically, a group in the House of bipartisan people have put forward the exact answer that they should pursue. The problem-solving caucus has suggested setting up a commission like Simpson-Bowles, but only with this time it would have legislative authority, which would come back with a proposal which would mitigate, if not eliminate, obviously wouldn't eliminate, which would mitigate the increase in the deficit and the debt. It would have to be bipartisan, and like Simpson-Bowles, which had about 75% of its savings coming on the spending side and 25% on the revenue side, it would work. And that's the path they should take. It's a compromise path. The president doesn't lose, the Republicans don't lose, and it would probably take a compromise of both sides coming to the table and voting for it, because I don't think you get the base of either party to vote for something like that.
Judd, when you were in the Senate, that's the type of plan that might have passed. It feels like things have changed, like it's gotten quite a bit more controversial. There are fewer people in the middle willing to make some of those changes. If they did a Simpson-Bowles panel like that, this time with legislative power, who do they put on it? Because some of the people who are the loudest on either side of these parties would not be able to sit down at the table and make a deal with the other side, a compromise.
You don't put the loudest, but you certainly put ideologically strong players on the committee, as there were with Simpson-Bowles. There were a lot of very, very conservative people and very, very liberal people, but they were people who were there to govern. Can you find those people in the Congress today? Yes, you can, actually. What we hear from, unfortunately, are really fringe people who've been elected from districts to elect fringe people. But there are still a lot of people in Congress who want to govern and want to do things correctly. And so I think there is enough goodwill to accomplish this. The question is there political leadership? Right now, I think the problem is political leadership. I don't see the president showing a whole lot of political leadership. I think he's playing politics here. I don't think McCarthy's really got the votes to show political leadership at this time. However, default is such a unknown area. I mean, nobody knows what happens if we default on the debt. I mean, theoretically, the Fed can keep printing money, but as a practical matter, you're going to see a massive disruption of this economy. And if the president thinks that's not going to come back on his head, he's not thinking too straight.
Donna, you agree with that assessment? Just the idea that, look, there is a possible path to this, that political leadership is lacking on both sides?
Well, look, I think a year ago, if we talked about some kind of bipartisan panel, that would be a different question. I just don't think that that's where we are right now. I think the president was waiting to see what House Republicans put out on the table. And now the serious talks are going to begin. And I think you hadn't up to this point seen Mitch McConnell in the middle of it. I think he's going to be a very heavy player here over in the Senate with Chuck Schumer. But that's where I think the deal is going to get cut. And look, this is going to require some give and take on both sides. But the fact is that we can't default. I mean, that is a reality check for all of us. And not just our domestic economy, but the global economy really depends on this at a time when things are very volatile. So all parties better get serious on this one.